My name is Carolyn Cook, and this is my entry for my informative speech in the job field of a missionary. So let's start off with our first question of the day, which is, have we as a church fulfilled what Christ has commanded us to do? According to the Global Commission partners, the need for educating the church about the unevangelized is crucial, as 40% of the world's people groups do not have sufficient access to the gospel, while 70,000 plus people die every day in the unreached world without Christ. This critical need of missionaries is now. So let's look into more about this. Our first bulletin for today that we are going to be talking about, or our first point of the day, is that churches in America need to be aware of the crucial growing numbers of unreached people groups. So, what does this mean? What are people groups? So, let's define them. People groups, according to the explanation of the Global Commission partners in Matthew 20, chapter 24, verse 14, when it talks about the word nations, here it does not refer to countries. In the original Greek, the word entos, meaning ethnical linguistic groups or people groups. But in regular terms, people groups is the largest group where the gospel can spread without any barriers of understanding. Today, there are 11,749 people groups in the world. And on my bulletin point, or on our PowerPoint, we have a number of countries of which there are unreached. And the 10 countries that are unreached are India, Pakistan, Indonesia, Bangladesh, China, Japan, Iran, Turkey, Thailand, and Nigeria. And that's just uh, the countries of today that are unreached at this point. Now, as far as like Bible translations for these countries that are reached, we have 5 countries that need those biblical translations. Africa has 627 languages that needs the biblical translation. As far as the Pacific has 353, Europe has only 34, Asia has 559, while the Americas has 63. So it's critical that we are needing the biblical translations so that we can be able to reach these groups of different language cultures so that they can have access to the gospel. So as we continue on, we will talk about with the Ministry of Global Commission Partners. They believe that educating the church about the unevangelized, where they are, how we can reach them, etc., is crucial for fulfilling the Great Commission. As the biggest problem is the church's resources are being spent on places that have already been evangelized. So the need to educate churches and redirecting their resources to the people groups that have yet to be reached. So we see here that what Western churches spend their money on. So we see that they spend a lot of it, as you see, in 93.6% in local work. Missions to Christian countries is only 5.4%, while as missions to unreached people groups, as far as foreign missions and native missions, out of every $100, only 10 cents goes to the native missionaries. So, what are native missionaries? So, another thing churches need to be considered in is sponsoring native missionaries, seeing as how the need for local educated missionaries to be sent to teach and train native missionaries to spread the gospel inside unreached people groups that are closed countries where local missionaries cannot get a visa. There are obviously a lot of places where we are unable to travel, whether due to war or being not a citizen to that respect. So, as by sponsoring native missions and by sponsoring people to mission go and teach these missionaries, we can have a more effective missionary force than ever been seen as far as from local missions. So, which leads me into my second point. So, nations of the world are growing need of missionaries. in all aspects. Just as God had sent Noah to do a missionary journey in Nineveh, he sent Paul to Ephesus and Athens church. I apologize on the enunciation of that. By church planting and also evangelizing. And not only that, well, Jesus sent his 12 disciples to teach and preach in the towns of Galilee. This gives us proof that the need for missions is a biblical sound and heavily needed. Continuing on, as the modern world views and culture has taken a drastic change, as we see today, it is our duty to take a stand and to raise awareness in our churches today by making disciples that have an emphasis on the worldwide Christianity. So, the importance of this is very important. Um, as we continue on talking about it, we have what is called the 1040 window, excuse me, which in 1990, the Partners International CEO, Louise Bush, coined the term the 1040 window, which the 1040 window is in the Western Hemisphere between 10 to 40 degrees north of the equator. Around two-thirds of the world's populations live in the 1040 window, which make up about more than 5,000 unreached people groups, as you can see on my world map. So this leads me into my third point. The mission field presents a great opportunities in many ways that God values according to Scripture. So what great opportunities do we have? Well, we have travel and cross cultural engagement. They long to share the gospel with every tribe, every tongue, and every nation, all for the glory of God. Because this is not the glory of what can this do for me? How can I, make this about me? It is not for us. It is for the glory of God. For this was our command by Jesus Christ in the Great Commission, that we are to make disciples and to spread the gospel around the world. So, as missionaries to share the love of Christ in the gospel, you will experience cultural diversity through your engagement with the people groups that you may come in contact. With these experiences, missionaries will gain an important in their community skills, in the increase of confidence, and the overwhelming love for the people and the places with whom they reach out to. So, what are the career opportunities? As a missionary, it becomes a way of life as we live to serve and fulfilling for the Great Commission. So, of course, we're going to have questions. As a person who goes into becoming a into ministry and to mission field, we get the same questions all the time. So, what's the pay? As of according to the Bureau of Labor and Statistics, missionaries make an average of $34,300 a year, which roundly rounds up to $16.50 an hour. So this income, excuse me, not only provides for the missionary themselves, but also if you are married or have a partner or have families, it will go to the families that you travel with and live into the mission field that is with you, while also providing for your ministry there. So with this salary, primarily comes from the funds that they raise through a sending agency or fundraising as they go along, as they teach churches about the unreached people groups. Also, as sharing the gospel, it does require no uh, degree or education as far as sharing the gospel. Now, it is recommended that if you are a missionary and going overseas, that you have an education in business or in an education which helps people groups to fully understand God's word and sharing the gospel in different cultural contexts. Because when you go to a different country, you also want to help the unreached people groups to understand what you are saying as far as the love of Christ. So as far as like learning a different language, or like as an education in business and education can help you, and to help, fully share the gospel in those aspects. Okay, let's move on. So in helping to fulfill the great mission is another aspect that we can have a great opportunities with this. In the book of Matthew 28, Christ calls his remaining disciples, and after giving all authority in heaven and on earth, he commanded them to go and make disciples of all nations. So, in baptism and teaching, Christ commands us that even now, through all the problems encountering daily, he is calling us to fulfill that commission so that we may continue to reach others to fully, uh, like it says, fully fulfill the Great Commission in all aspects so that we can finally reach those unreached people groups. So, finally, let us summarize what we have learned today. So if you are looking for a career opportunity through which you can make a God honoring difference in not only people's lives, but to accomplish the goals of the Great Commission, then the mission field is a job field that could give you the excellent opportunities for which you seek. So let us continue to make churches in America aware of the need to reach the unevangelized people groups by accepting the calling into mission field and have the opportunity to stand up for the Great Commission as we fulfill God's plan and sharing the gospel. And in my last sentence, of which I want to have you guys get anything out of what I'm saying, is that let us fulfill what Christ has commanded us to do now, and it's not too late. I thank you guys.